Good evening and welcome to our webinar session titled Understand OIDC and OKTA, where Prabhaharan Narsingamurthy, an accomplished business leader and an expert in identity and access management technologies, will take us through an in-depth understanding of OIDC and the features and capabilities of OKTA. He comes with over 5+ years of experience as an IEM consultant and certified as an OKTA professional. So, Prabhaharan brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to this session. His strong analytical and problem solving skills, coupled with his passion of innovation and entrepreneurship, make him an ideal speaker for this topic. So, during this session, we encourage you to ask questions that you may have on this topic by using the chat feature so that Prabhaharan will be able to answer some of your questions at the end of the session. So please feel free to participate and engage with us. Whether you are a technical professional looking to in-depth your knowledge on IAM technologies, or whoever is watching this video as an organization exploring IAM solution like Okta, this session promises to provide valuable insights and practical guidance. So sit back, relax, and join us as we learn more about OIDC and Okta from Prabhaharan Narsingamurthy. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Maria. Thanks for the big introduction. And yeah, I just want to give a just little introduction. What is this? So OKTA is a product of a SaaS-based product for the security. And today's session, I'm just going to cover a very basic, because this is kind of a vague topic. Not many people can easily understand this. So I just took a very basic things, at least to go over what is security and to go over the basic understanding of OKTA. So in case if you are interested more, if you want to learn more, we can have more session. And again, today I am going to cover very basic stuffs. And if you have any questions, then we can go a little in depth. If not, I'm just going to cover a very basic things actually. So because of kind of like a little hard to understand for many people, so I just took up very basic things, so at least they'll get to the feel of what is security and what is identity and what is like an Okta product. So with that assumptions, I'm just moving on. Okay, hold on a minute. I don't know what screen you're seeing, like, is it?
Yeah, you can put it on the slide, just above home.
So are you seeing the full window or are you seeing like the multiple windows?
We are seeing multiple windows, but we can see the bigger one here.
Switch the screen you are sharing, Prabhakar.
I don't know what to do that. I have a multiple monitor here, so just one side is showing full window and one side is showing half window. Let me take that out.
We can see the slides, yeah.
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 So this is like, what is the OKTA? So first of all, like, I just want to understand, just want to take it down, like, what is OKTA? So OKTA is like, kind of a SaaS product. So SaaS, we can call it as a like, SaaS product or PaaS product or IDaaS product. It's like, software as a service or identity as a service or product as a service. It's one of the leading in industry. So OKTA is a company and OKTA is a product, so which provides a security based software or identity management platform to the industries. They are the one of the leading in our industries, comparing to Microsoft, compared to other leading identity management companies. So I feel like this is one of the leading in our industries at this point of time, and not on the revenue wise, on the terms of the product, in terms of many clients acquiring. So in the terms, I feel like, and that's the leader in industries in so far in our everywhere. So to say that, what it provides mainly on the securely manage and control access to various application and accesses. Why we need that? Because it needs so every application, and nowadays, we are facing so many security threats, so many security issues. To manage that, so Okta is a product which can easily enable securities and easily integration with the applications. So that's basic understanding of Okta. I just want to start off with what is security or what is identity. Before going in depth with Okta, I just want to give the what do we need, or why do we need a security, or why do we need care about the identity. So we have the resources. Resource could be anything like an application or data or any of the resources a user want to access this. Like how do the user need to access? What kind of a data the user can see, or how do I trust this user? Those are all comes to the security or identity. What is the problem? The problem is so any number of end users are coming in, and how do I trust those users, and what data they can see, or what can they achieve? Those are all comes under the security part, and those are all earlier we feel so much difficulties to understand what is the software security. So that is because I feel so much of jargons involved there. They always say that so many protocols, so many implementation flows. Those are all you know it made a very complex to understand. To give you a basic background, a security or identity is nothing but like a user accessing a resource, and how do the user can access, or how do they can trust, and what information they can provide to an individual user. So that's the basic behind the scene of the security or identity. So identity is as I said, it's just kind of a trusting who you are and what I can provide you. So that's the key informations on the identity side. So any questions before I proceed? Okay, taking that as a silence as a no. So as I said, Okta is like a cloud-based identity platform, or a SaaS product, or SaaS product, or PaaS product, or IDaaS product, cloud-based identity management platform. It is mainly providing a single sign-on for various applications. Like they have thousands of applications already integrated, or they can usually use use that Okta to integrate any applications, either the inbuilt applications or the any applications we needed. So it's like a centralized authentication platform and authorization platform for our needs, actually. So we can customize based on our application, or based on our organization, based on our business unit. We can customize it, customize as much we want, and that gives a valuable, and that gives a more securely, and yeah. So that's the main key features of the Okta side. And what are all the main features the Okta can provide? So the majorly it is providing is single sign-on. So earlier, like we usually use like many a single user can uses many application, and they need to know many passwords, many user IDs and passwords, and like sometimes like even confusing what password I use for what applications. To avoid all those issues, so Acta's brought up an brilliant solution for like a single sign-on product actually. So here, like a user can use the same ID and password for n number of applications, even like in their organization or in outside of the organization. If it is integrated, it's like they can use a single sign-on. So that's a key feature. And they have a very beautiful multi-factor authentication. Nowadays, like we have more towards like a multi-factor authentications, like we are want like two-factor authentication or three-factor authentications. So MFA is like one of the key feature where Acta is providing. And we have like something like multiple policies, like a sign-on policies, like we need to restrict the user. For example, like I wanted to restrict some user not to log in, like a location wise, like let's say if it is a Asia Pacific, I don't want to access it, my application. So yeah, that policies, or I mean, anyways, like any kind of a policies, like a sign-on policies and the password policies, like password, I can define in each user what kind of a password they have to use it, like so that those kind of a policies I can set it up. And the lifecycle management. So in any organization, the major part of the thing is like lifecycle management, which is like user or any employee onboarding to offboarding, and provisioning any applications. Those are one of the key features in Acta side. And and nowadays, like the modern things, like you have seen like passwordless policies. So any application you can log in without a password by like kind of another options, like biometric options, or some other options. Those are one of the key features. And many more features, key features, like Acta is providing. Any questions? Okay. So what Acta solves? So this, as I said, like earlier, uh, so we used to access many number of applications. For each applications, we maintain like separate user ID and separate passwords. So in sometimes, like 10 application, 50 applications, like it's very difficult to manage the passwords all the time. Like we forget the password, we need to reset the password. So those are all, it's like kind of so complex, uh, you know so complex. To avoid that, the thing Acta solves is like kind of an SSO, which I explained before. So a single sign-on, a single user ID, single password to access a number of applications via an Acta cloud-based network. So that's the primary goal of Acta. So any questions, guys? Okay. So these are the features which Acta can provide. I think I covered this up, like all those single sign-on by like it is connected to Office 365. Any bigger organizations, they'll have a Office 365, Workday, HR management, any Service Connect, any application you take, it's all by a single identity or single management. How does it solve? So that will how does it solve? It's all by the single sign-on coverages. So these are all the features, like they have a universal directory, which so far, like many applications or many organizations, we are using like AD as a source of truth. And going forward, like the Acta has brought up another directory called like a universal directory, where all the users can be stored, are managed, inside the OKTA itself. So that is one of the key features in OKTA side. And they have our own AD integrations for any bigger organization. They usually have their own AD, and if they want to bring up the users, they have pretty much good AD based integrations, and LDAP based integrations, and lifecycle management, which I said, the user onboarding to offboarding, provisioning, deprovisioning, those kind of things. They one of the bigger features in ACTA side. And the policies, single sign-on policies. How do they want to log in? If I want to restrict a particular user, particular region, particular zone, I can simply go and do a simple click. So that is one of thing. And the another major is like an API access management. All the features which I was talking about can be covered and can be customized and can be managed in APIs. They have provided a number of or a good set of APIs where user can tailor themselves accordingly what they want actually. So, and the application management. So any kind of applications like a SAML based application, WS Federation applications, or OIDC, OpenID, anything they can manage it easily. And as I said, passwordless and reporting sites, actually they have kind of a good reporting and kind of a logging each activities, any users logging in, any users and doing any activities. They have a good amount of logging options. Is it pretty good? Okay. The next thing that the OKTA supports or OKTA applications are, they cover pretty much the major protocols. One is SAML based protocol, and the OIDC, which is which is built on top of OAuth, and there's something called SWA. SAML, pretty much that's the oldest protocol which most of the application uses in the modern days and olden days. And we had seen something called WS Federation, which is Microsoft have brought up for their own authentication mechanism. But nowadays, nobody is using that WS Federation. That's why I didn't cover it here. And another latest one is called OAuth 2, and so OAuth 2 it's covered. And nowadays, we have something called an OIDC, which is built on top of OAuth side. And there is something called SWA, which is Secure Web Authentication. This is a new protocol, or specific to OKTA-based protocol. So which we usually use that in case any application which doesn't support SAML or OIDC. So using of SWA is very rare in any industries, but still I've seen a few applications are using it. So I just want to cover up in olden days, we usually use in a form-based authentication. Then after that, we evolved and got up something Kerberos, which is Windows-based authentication and AD-based authentication. So those are all on olden days we were using. Then why we need these kind of protocols, modern protocols? So because there's so many issues we face, form-based authentication. It's we used to store passwords in either in the database or in AD based. So that is one of the biggest drawback. Either you have to encrypt, decrypt. So those kind of issues were there. And Kerberos, yes, Kerberos worked so better. But the problem is when it comes to the SSO part, so that doesn't support much. So to avoid all those hassle, the first one introduced called SAML. SAML was working very very good, and even nowadays it is many applications are using SAML based applications. And OIDC is the modern days protocol which supports authentication as well as authorization technologies, because it's built on top of like an OAuth. And I cover like SW is a specific to OKTA protocol. Are you guys good? Okay. So I just want to cover up a very basic of OIDC. So what is OIDC? I just say like it's an OpenID Connect. But why do we need to why do we need OpenID Connect? So OpenID Connect, it's it is a modern browser or modern protocol, sorry, a modern protocol which uses for authentication as well as like authorization. So that's because it's built on top of OAuth. So it uses, or it gives a benefit of authentication as well as authorization, and generates a token, which we can use it for any further application authentication and application usage. So that's the pretty much on the OIDC. And mainly like when we use a OIDC, like we use a pretty much the these are the grants, or we say these are the flow we use for any particular applications to generate a token and sends to the validations actually. So what are all the flows OIDC covers? It's like authorization code with Pixie. That's the and authorization code with Pix. The PKC is called Pixie, and there's another called authorization code, and there's another one is like a client credential, refresh token, and hybrid. These are the major flows or grants OIDC flows supports, or we users actually. So when do we use like authorization code with Pixie? So whenever there is an application, it's a single page application. So single page application is nothing but when you build any application by using JavaScript. So in a technical terms, like just giving you, if you build any application with a JavaScript, that's called like a single page applications. When there is a single page application, we use a flow called authorization code with Pixie. And any other web-based application, any other web applications, like if you're building based on .NET, .NET, or the Java-based application where server can hold most of your security information, then we go by authorization code flow. Or if you are using any native application is nothing but a mobile-based applications. So any mobile-based application, we can use a multiple things like authorization code flow, and we can use like refresh token. I'll cover up the refresh token later. So on the refresh token flow. So there's another interesting part, a client credential. So where we uses like any backend applications or any services where there is no user involved. So during that cases, it has to do an automatic process. So where in those situations, like we'll be going to the client credential flow. And the next two things are kind of a refresh token. So refresh token is nothing but when you generate a token out of these kind of a flows, and the tokens are usually have 1 hour or 2 hour validations. So after 1 or 2 hours, like a user redirected to login page again. So it's kind of annoying. So for some applications, to avoid that key, I mean, to avoid like a login every 1 hour or 2 hour, there's something called refresh token. So the refresh token is behind the scene. It works, and before it expiry, it just checks, okay, if it is expiring, it just redirects to OKTA directly and gets a new token without even redirecting to login page. So that's in refresh token. There's something called hybrid model. So in few applications, like a web application, they'll use the combination of these patterns. That's called like in a hybrid model. So I'm not gonna go in depth of this until unless if anyone need more information. Any question, guys, on this? Are you getting anything, or are you not able to understand? Anyway, moving on to other one. So basically, like, other than that, like, the Okta supports the, as I covered, like, the user management and application management. On user management wise, like, it covers, like, creating a users, creating a passwords, reset password, policies, you know, onboarding users, offboarding users, associating to applications. Those are all like kind of easy management, which I'll show in a demo kind of thing. And after that, like, kind of a groups, policies, MFAs are covered in a modern, in covered in Okta. It's very, very easy. And like, as I said, like, there's two things. One is like a user management and application management. Yeah, those are all covered. So any questions so far? If not, I'll go for a quick demo.
Before you go to the demo, Prabhakaran, I wanted to share a screen and then let you speak about some aspects of this.
Sure.
Let me quickly share my screen. Let me know when you can see this.
Yep.
All right. So I wanted to share the screen and give an idea of what Okta is bringing into the picture here to the participants here. Now, this is the current scenario. This image represents the current scenario. Companies that are not using any integrated security solution, right? So
Right.
we have the corporate users on the right side of the screen. You have local users, employees coming from within the network, and then we have remote users coming through tunneling and accessing the applications. The employees are here in Active Directory and LDAP. This is typical of any organization. They are able to access, do authentication and authorization internally using their Active Directory for all the on-prem. But now the proliferation of all these cloud applications has kind of complicated the situation where each of your user has to access all this cloud application, and then each of these cloud application uses its own user store. So you see so many user stores here.
Yep.
Now I think Okta brings to the table is very critical, where this represents the situation when you have an Okta solution in place where there is an Okta AD agent that interacts with your Active Directory. So you have your local user, remote user, all your internal applications access are there, but then all your external cloud applications are all managed by Okta here. So your remote users are able to go and authenticate. They are also administrators are also able to provision, deprovision. So this is the simplicity that Okta provides to enterprises when it comes to single sign-on and various other security solutions for both internal applications and external applications. So I just wanted to cover this image. So Prabhakaran, if you can elaborate on this, that'll be great as well.
Sure. Yeah. So as I said before, like, the Okta is a cloud-based applications. That's why, it's sitting, other side of the firewall. So all the other modern applications like LinkedIn, Google, everything which connects towards like an Okta. So Okta, I mean, we can say other way. The first thing is like, the Okta is connecting any application like LinkedIn or Google and other applications outside of the firewall and internally. So Okta like integrates with like, AD agent or AD or I mean company's AD through that Okta AD agent. So that brings all the users from the AD side So whenever like a user, for example, like in the internal users or employee contractors are logging in, they'll be redirected to AD for any authentications by a policy. The policy is like we can set it up by a domain. For example, like if it is like if it is like anything like what is that, like onwardpath.com. So based on the onwardpath.com, like it redirects to onward path active directory to authenticate any users from the onward path AD. So that's where they're connecting to the AD agent, and it connects to the AD. So, and the other side, if you see on the firewall left hand side, you see like another application like a Google or something. You can connect each organization inside OKTA. Like there is something called org to org setup, like from one organization to another organization setups. So you can do each one by connecting their own source and setting up a policies. I mean, we can have a we can set it up like a multiple ways of setting up policies. I mean, I'm just giving you a simple thing is by a domain. If it is google.com, go to Google. If it is like twitter.com, like go to Twitter. So you can set it up a policies. So any internal users goes to AD, any external users checks the policy. For example, in this scenario, like it's like a domain. It redirects their user to their own user source. And on the on your right hand side, there is something called Okta WA web app. That is something called silent authentication. If it is installed internally in your organization, you don't need to log in anytime. When you log into Windows, it picks up your information from Windows if the application is integrated with Okta. So that's where the IWA is a kind of a silent authentication. So that's where it's all talks about this pictures. So any questions on this?
So what technologies are involved in Okta, Prabhakaran? If somebody wants to become an Okta developer or administrator, what background should they have?
Nothing like that. It's pretty simple. I mean, Okta provides everything without even understanding. So if you understand better, like as I said, like the OIDC, those things are little. If you understand those kind of a flows, so you will be I mean, you will be like very good in kind of a Okta side of a development perspective. For admin side, I would say like it's very simple, and anybody can get into the admin side. But if you want to pursue more on the development side, yeah, I would concern like get more info on the protocols, because those are the one they most of the applications will be using it actually. So any applications they'll use some I mean, we need to choose what kind of a protocol we need to support for that applications. So I mean, one thing which I said, right, we have different flows. For example, if one client is saying like I have this application and I need to integrate to Okta, so immediately you have to trigger like okay, this kind of a flow works for this and this flows doesn't works for this. So those kind of understanding, if you have, then it's pretty good for the development side. For admin, like I don't see much knowledge needed on admin perspective.
Okay.
And more on like more than development, that I would say like there's something called consulting, that you need to understand overall all the aspects of Okta side. That's little higher level, that's what I would say.
And typically, what kind of time frame are we looking at when a client wants to use Okta as their primary identity solution and wants to provide single sign-on for their internal and cloud-based applications?
Okay.
What is the time frame, typical time frame? I know
So
it
this
depends
is
on the size and number of applications as well,
correct.
but smallest implementation, can you give an idea?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like it's a pretty easy, pretty it's less than like I would say like a week time should be good enough for. I mean, I'm talking about only the authentication pieces.
Okay,
So a week to 2 weeks is good enough for one applications.
I see. Very nice.
again, like, these kind of a more modern thing, like, it's only thing is it's so easy to integrate, like, they have provided so much technology inside. It's kind of a button click or button kind of a configurations, so that will link all these kind of an applications.
Very good. Thank you. Maybe we can switch to your demo now.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So first thing, I just want to let everyone know that you can go and create your own Okta tenant, a sample tenant, and to play around. So where do you need to go? Like, just go to developer.okta.com, or you can search, like, developer Okta account. So just create an email ID. I mean, it requires a business email ID. And if you give that information, it will give you a tenant, like an Okta tenant, where you can play around. This gives like a 30-day free trial, and again, you can do it multiple times. So this gives at least to understand how to I mean, at least something on the Okta side. So I would definitely recommend this, like, for first the initial phases, just go and create your own tenant and play around it. So I've created one for this yesterday, so I'm just going with that. What is this? Okay. So this is the dev account which I created. If you see for the dev.test account, like you will get it like a dev slash something like that. This is valid for 30 days. Yeah, you can play around with that. Okay. So this is typical Okta, uh, dashboard or something. So here you can see, this is the dashboard. This covers, like, all the activities, what this instance is doing. So how many applications, how many users, who is logged in, what kind of activities. So those kind of things, you can, uh, uh, I mean, see as a snippet here. And the task and notifications, if you want to notify anyone or if you need to do any tasks, those are all the things, you will add it here. The major thing I wanted to cover is, like, there's something called directory. So here there's something called people. So this gives an ability to manage users. So these are the major one of the major thing where you can just go and create your own user, play around with that actually. So for example, I'm going to create one user here. So here we have an options. I mean, you want to set by the user or set by the admin. So you have a multiple options. So right now, this is just a temporary, or there's not a valid domain. I am setting it up here. So if in regular companies, like, we usually send the emails to the user and the user sets up on their own. I created a user and I created this account. If you see the password expired stage, because I created it as a user need to change the password at the first login. So we show that option here. So send the user activation email now. So this is user, I mean, I created by the admin, and it says like the user must change that on the first login. So that's why it says password expired stage. So I'm pulling up an incognito. So it locks me in and it's asking me to set the password. Beautiful. So this, because now I do not have access, because I did not assign any access to this user. So that's why I'm getting like a 403. To avoid that, I mean, right now we don't have any applications created here. So I'm just going to assign an application, or to see this, I'm going to assign an admin privilege for this. So if you see here, this has like a multiple administrator rights, right from the super admin, and each admin has its own, its own purpose, and its own operations. So for now, to set with, I'm setting up the super admin where he has all the all the privileges. I assigned. Let me log in again. Now it's the same user. It is logging me inside, because then I gave admin permissions to access this site. I mean this OKTA domain. So that's why it's allowing me to log in. Now I wanted to set up the MFA, because MFA is the major for any other organizations, right? So I've created an application, but I wanted to create an MFA for either individual user or for the organization. So I am going to create an. So here you can see there is something called multi-factor authentication. Just click that and enable like what kind of a multi-factor you wanted to assign to the user. Right now I enable like an SMS, because of the test account and test users. So that will be easy for me to add. So if you want, we can have Okta Verify. Okta Verify is a mobile based Okta mobile based applications where you can see the same keys, SMS kind of a key you have to key in. So I'm not going with that because I don't want to register that. And there's a few others like a Google Authenticator and email as a factors, and many more actually. So these are all the enrollments you need to do. Like in case if I wanted to enable this, I enable this, and I need to add a policy for adding this. I wanted to add a policy and rules to enable MFA for the users of this an instance. I don't want to exclude any users. I wanted to have anybody. Create a user. Or you know what? I'll create a new one. I don't have a groups. So I've created it, and if you see the presidents, like, and I just made that as a first presidents. So the default, I mean, if you add it as a default, then it will skip that. So that's why I wanted to add that as a at the first level. So now I'll go ahead and open the same user. Oh, okay. I need to enable that. Sorry, I need to enable. So I created a policy there, and now I'm enabling during authentication. So this is giving, like, who wants MFA, like, anywhere, any zone, anybody, for anyone. So we can restrict, okay, by the IPs or by a zone. So we can restrict, like, I don't want to give, I don't want to register MFA for these users or these zones, those kind of an options here. So for now, I'm just giving for all the options. It's required, MFA is required, so I'm setting it up on every sign in. Now it's popping MFA authentication. So I'm just going to configure that, because I enabled only the mobile, so it is popping me the mobile thing. I have a number of options to for factor setting up. Now it sent me a code. Verified, and locks me in. So this is another good options, like in enabling MFA is pretty simple to setting it up in OKTA side. So now I'll just want to go ahead and see, like, I want to set it up a password policies. For example, like, for any users or these kind of this application users need to have a different policy or different passwords. Like, I want to set something like, kind of giving more restriction. It should have a lowercase, uppercase, numbers. I wanted to set those kind of a policies. Just go ahead and set that policy here. Enable, disable. It creates a default policy. So this is a default policy. So if you want to add another policies for a specific groups, so this groups I'll talk about later. So this specific groups, nothing but a specific group of people. So that's where it says, like, then if you want to restrict this policy for okay, this zone people or this IP people, need to have these kind of password setups. Yeah, those kind of configurations are enabling. We can do it here. So now I just did it something like this. Let's go ahead and create a user again and checks whether these are enabled or not. Trying to log in. Some factor. Now it pops me a password setups, this giving like an options like whatever we enabled here. So whatever we have enabled, it's popping me. So you can customize, you can tailor. So whatever you want, like by applications or by people, by zone, you can do everything here actually as a simple click. The another thing is like the sign on thing we are covered. Yeah, next thing I wanted to do it like something called group options. So right now we have only all the users are in one single group called everyone group. But if I want to segregate, for example, like onboard path employees, onboard path contractors, and another again, if you want to go further down, like each customer groups, you can create that and associate those users, and you can set up the restrictions or policies for specific to our groups. So just go here, like a test group one. So it creates a group, and if you see there's no people here, and I would like to assign some users here, just go assign, and I am assigning this user. That's it. So this has like a 2 users, and this group you can set up a different policies. I mean, whatever we set up, like a sign-on policies, like a password policies, like login policies, whatever we did before, you can set it, specific for this group. And if you want to have a different setups, we can do that. And also, if you want to assign an application only for these groups, you can do that. So that's the major advantages of kind of a grouping. So that thing one I wanted to cover, which I cover now. The next important thing is like in creating an applications. So as I said, like the OIDC, right? So OIDC, SAML, and SWA. In olden days, which when I worked, like I worked in another product. So initially, it was so difficult. Like we have to figure it out what kind of applications, so we have to think about the flows and multiple things we have to do to create an application in olden form of security products. So in OKTA, it's everything under like one click. So just go here. I mean, they have a two sets. One is like a create app integrations, create your own applications, your own flow. You do it whatever you want. That's what the create app integration says. The another one is like a browse app categories. Here they have already have like multiple integrated applications. For example, like Salesforce, Office 365 integrations, Workday integrations. It's just like a click here. It will give you. It will ask for a few details. Just give that few details, then that's it. Like it's already integrated. Like if you want to integrate like Office 365, just take this because it's already integrated, and this knows like what flows and what protocols it uses. Everything it already integrated. Like only thing it asks for your domain addresses, like the admin like user ID and password to connect, and pretty much done. Like in 30 minutes to 1 hour, like you are done with like your integrations. So those are already integrated applications. That is one thing. The second one is like most of the applications like in our organization, you'll be going by this approach. So this is like you have a multiple protocol. As I said, like these are 3 protocols which covered. One is like an OIDC, SAML, and SWA. And in OIDC, if you go, it is asking for what kind of application is this, because I covered like there is something called a flows here. So in olden days, like you have to pick what kind of a flow you want, but Okta is not giving those kind of option or those kind of a hassle to user. You just go and say what kind of application it generates. It generates like it understands what kind of a protocol it need to use. It understands what kind of a grant it use. I mean, this kind of a grants, it defaults to that and just gives that. And allow everyone or so here you can select what kind of a user I have to assign to these applications. That's it. Your application is created. When you need to share it to your developer, share this client ID and share this the domain, and they are good to go. They're pretty much they're integrated to their applications. So to show that, I have one glitch.com. Yeah, it's not working, but I tried. Something is changed here. It's not working yet, but I just show you what to integrate, what you need to give it to your developer once you create an application. So you just give the client ID, you just give the callback URL. Callback URL is nothing but like when it goes to Okta authentication, after authentication, where it need to send a token. So that's where the callback URL talks about. And you just give the domain. It pops me the user ID and password. So here, like if I give my user ID and password, it validates and locks me in. But yeah, for now, I'm not going inside because the code whatever I have, like it's not working 100%. So I'm just giving you at least the integration part. So what you need to supply to your developer. So just 2-3 informations to your developer, you're done actually. So that's the admin level coverages. The another thing which I want to cover is the on the application side, you have something called API services, where there is no human involved on the machine-to-machine communications. Go with that service-based applications. That will generate a key, an ID and secret. Share that. That's it. Then other than that, kind of a self-service site where the user can logs in and they can change their password and they can customize on their own whatever they wanted actually. So that's pretty much I have today. And yeah, and the one thing is like as Pandian showed the picture, I just want to cover up there's something called directory integration. So here this gives like the modern I mean an approach to integrate your own in AD. I mean, on the picture we saw like the internal AD integrations. Just go here, click, and follow the setups. In like in 5 minutes you're done with your AD integration. So that's pretty easy. Just need a few details from the AD team. So like the domain, like we need some super user to connect. That's it. Like so those are all the pretty. You can connect with the Active Directory. You can connect with the LDAP directory. So everything you can do it here actually. And what else? Okay, there's something called identity provider. So the another thing is like on the picture you saw like like what is that, Google, LinkedIn integrations, right? So here is where you can see all those modern things like Google, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just go click. I mean, you can easily integrate your Okta with their Okta. So by enabling this feature, plus when you add this, like it will ask for a few details, few of these details you need it. So once you fill that, it is connecting to your LinkedIn based authentications. So only thing is you have to set up the IDP, as I said. Then you have to set up the rules. Rules is nothing but, I said, like the policies which you need to set, how I need to, or on what basis, on what condition I need to route it to LinkedIn, or on what thing I have to route it to Google. So those kind of rules you have to set it here. Other than that, I don't see much things here. So this is network thing related. Kind of, if you need to block any region, if you need to block any API, any IP addresses to access this applications, yeah, you could do all those things here actually. So workflow is another important factors, but workflow, kind of automating anything on the workflow. But this is little complex. We'll have it in another session if you guys really interested actually. So I think I'm pretty much covered. Any questions? If any questions from you? Yeah.
Yeah, Prabha, I have one question.
Sure.
Actually, OIDC and OAM same only, same scenario only. And
OIM
Oracle
is an OKTA, Oracle based management, right? So
actually, last time also I have one client that is McAfee, Telex.
McAfee, yeah, correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
McAfee uses OIM because that's Oracle management. Oracle
yeah,
has their
OIDC
internal.
is
See, OIDC is
Okta.
the concept. So that
Okay,
concept you can integrate it anywhere. So OIM is like a product of Oracle. So that integrates like OIDC protocols. So Okta integrated OIDC protocol. So it's a product. It's a different company's product.
yeah. Not the same only, OIDC and Okta, the OAM.
No. What I'm saying is OIM is a Oracle-based identity management platform. So
Okay,
under the platform, you have OIDC. That's a protocol which used inside your OIM.
okay,
So Oracle is a platform, right? So Oracle is a product. So like that, OIM is a platform or product by Oracle.
okay, okay.
So any other question, guys?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it is purely based on cloud, or it can be installed on any Linux server, like
No,
Keycloak or
it's a
something like that.
cloud-based actually.
Okay, so we cannot install it in it our own, right?
So
On our
if
own.
you want these things, what is it like? They are. This Okta is a product of. It's a cloud-based product. It's a SaaS product, right?
Okay.
But in case if you want, there's a few features. Few features in Okta provides where you can install on Windows machines as well as Linux machines. For example, if
Okay.
you want to integrate AD, then there is an agent involved, so that will be installed on your Windows machines inside DMZ. Sorry, outside of DMZ actually. Sorry, inside your organization. The another product is called identity governance. So that installed in Windows. Linux. That's on the DMZ. So those are internally. There are a few products what kind of a feature you want to take it down. So then you can go and install on few features on Windows machines or few on Linux machines. But as a whole, Okta is a cloud-based product.
Okay. Okay. Let's say if I have a web application, so I want to implement a user authentication model. So if I go with Okta, so from there I can manage all the user related, like creating users, deleting users, or managing policies, giving access. All
Correct.
all
Yes.
all, all ACL can be maintained there, right?
Correct. Yes. So
So,
that's
but
multiple ways actually. So
okay.
usually applications what they don't go by Okta side. So usually they'll integrate APIs.
Okay.
Okay. Most of the applications. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
that's right.
So
Okay.
most of the application uses like an API, their own API management. Very rarely they'll go for a administrator for managing like users actually. So usually the administrator will have the initial setups, then application setups when they'll get more on the application setup sites. Then everything like will be managed by the API access management. Very rarely if there's any issues or something, then they'll talk about the admin to manage.
Okay. And you're actually showing a demo on the browser where you have the sample HTML file in there. You mentioned the client ID, right? So it's showing on the right side, it's showing username and password.
Correct.
So it is directly coming from OKTA, or
Yeah, that's
the
coming
form?
from OKTA, yes.
Okay. So
The
what you're
same,
saying is, in the same way, if I want to implement the same user on authentication function to any kind of web application,
Mhm.
in the same way, I think I cannot use like that. I think what you're saying is we need to use the API call and make the
No.
organization.
That's
Okay.
a two thing. That's a two thing. API management is for user management I'm talking about.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
any authentication, you can just connect. I mean, usually you can use by API as well, but more than API, they'll use the the direct OKTA integrations and like SDKs. So internally, the SDK connects OKTA
Okay.
by an API.
Oh, okay.
So any other questions, guys? If
I
not,
think from my side, I think I have done my questions.
sure. You have a question or you don't? I don't understand.
I don't know. I'm done with them.
Oh, no problem. So anybody else? Okay, I'm taking silence as a no, and thank you so much for joining, guys. Like thank you so much, and yeah, in case if really needed, a little advanced part, we can like schedule more actually. So I mean, today I just covered very basic part. But in case if needed more, we can deep dive.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Arun, I think I'm pretty done actually. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thanks,
It was a nice
Pawan.
session.
Good luck, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.